Since starting this YouTube channel, I have shared with you quite a few DIY projects. I've transformed several spaces in my home, and in this video, I wanted to share the progress we've made so far. Before we get started, I want to thank Costway for sponsoring today's video. Costway offers premium home goods with affordable prices. They have a huge selection of great quality products, including items like furniture, outdoor, baby and kids, sports and games, kitchen, appliances, decor, and even products for your pets. I personally have their folding floor massage chair, and it's made of soft, breathable fabric, making it super comfortable and perfect for reading, relaxing, or even napping. It has a foldable design, making it ideal for storage and transportation, and it's already become not only my favorite chair in the house, but others too. With their advanced warehouse inventory system, you can expect fast delivery within 3 to 5 days of placing your order. And Costway offers better than good customer service with 24-hour online service. Head over to Costway to check out their great deals, including their February 20% off sale on selected outdoor items or any of their other great sales currently offered. I will have a link in the description. Now back to the video. Alright, so first things first, this is what my front entryway closet looks like. As embarrassing as it is to share, this is the reality. Shoes piled up high on this rack and a bunch of other stuff that has just gotten shoved in there and we've pretty much forgotten about. So to be able to tackle this makeover, the first thing I had to do was completely empty it and also give it a quick vacuum. After removing the pull and bifold door, I measured the width and the length of the closet and began cutting my 2x4s that I would be using for my support system. I created pocket holes in order to later be able to attach them together. Before securing anything, I made sure to dry fit everything, square everything off, and make sure everything was even. Now I will mention that the bottom is not directly attached to the studs, and the extra support boards I added standing up are more purposely placed for the drawers I will be building later because I will need something to be able to attach my drawer slides to. The top 2x4s that will be used for the seat, however, are directly attached to the studs, and I used a stud finder and marked where to attach the screw. After it was attached to the wall, then I began adding my cross pieces and secured those to each other using the pocket holes I had made earlier and made sure everything was squared. I moved on to removing this extra wood piece used for the door so that it would be completely smooth. I would suggest doing this at the beginning, but I forgot to do it then. My closet, like most, already had a shelf, but it was too low in my opinion, so I removed it, but I will be adding one back later on. Finally, it was time to measure and cut out all of the shiplap that I will be adding to the wall. I decided on pre-primed pine shiplap, but you can use MDF if you'd prefer. It's a little bit less expensive. After I had all of the shiplap cut, I moved on to creating the boxes for my drawers. I measured and cut my boards out of some scrap 1/2-inch birch plywood I had in my garage. I created pocket holes on the shorter sides and the bottom of what would become the box in order to join them together. I chose not to use glue in case I ever decide to replace any of the boards. Remember when measuring your opening to count for the 1-inch width of the slides as well as another 1 inch for the sides of the box. Deduct that from your overall width to determine how wide to cut the front and back pieces. Okay, so I've already installed this drawer and the hinges. Obviously I still need to put the face front on this, but I wanted to show you quickly how I installed those. Obviously I didn't want to have to show you both, so I think as long as I show you one, it should be sufficient. It's not as hard as people may think it is. It kind of seems intimidating at first. If you do it this way, it's pretty simple, pretty easy to do. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, I used 3/4 inch spacers to determine how high to place my slides and to make sure that the back and the front were the same. Then I simply just attached the slide using the screws that it came with. Once both sides were attached, I took my box and inserted it into the slot. I used a 1/4 inch scrap piece of plywood I had laying around as my spacer and then attached the slide to the box on both sides. I added 1x4s and a couple of 1x1s to form a face frame and then moved on to attaching all of my shiplap with brad nails. There were a couple of pieces I had to make slightly narrower in order to make them fit properly. I did trim out the shiplap with some simple, relatively inexpensive trim. This is of course optional, but I feel like it gives it a more professional and finished look. It was time to move to building the drawer fronts. After I measured and cut my rails and stiles, I used pocket holes to join them together. I didn't mind using pocket holes because they will not be seen. I did measure and cut them out to be 1/2 inch overlay all the way around. I would fill any small gaps and then cut 1/4 inch plywood panels to attach directly to the drawer box to cover the existing pocket holes. I figured this would be easier than trying to add it to the actual drawer front. I attached them using brad nails and then caulked them to prep for paint. I also went ahead and caulked all of the seams on the shiplap. I used that premium wood filler to fill in all of the nail holes. Once everything was dry, I went back and sanded everything smooth using a sanding sponge that was 240 grit. I am using a very popular color called Iron Ore by Sherwin-Williams in their Valspar Signature Collection. I used a trim angled brush to get in between each groove of the shiplap and all of the edges. I do believe it'd be easier if I had painted that part of the shiplap before attaching it to the wall. For the bench and the shelf, I cut down common boards to size and sanded them down smooth with 120 grit followed by 220. I stained them using Minwax Special Walnut as it is one of my all-time favorite stain colors. I measured and made sure the support boards were level. I used a scrap 1x1 piece of pine wood I had. I secured it to the wall with brad nails, and I also secured the bench boards with brad nails. After adding the finishing touches and decor pieces, we were done. Now let's remember what this closet space used to look like and what it looks like now.
Inside the mudroom slash laundry room. It was a project that was started after flooding with Hurricane Harvey, which although doesn't seem so long ago, was 4 years ago now. Well, we never got around to finishing it, much like a lot of the spaces in our home, and since then there's quite a few things that I wanted to change.
Began with emptying the room by removing the vanity that I will be disposing of and the toilet. The next thing on the list was to remove the existing tile. I didn't think of it much at the time as we felt overwhelmed with all of the construction following the flooding, but light tile and grout in a mudroom bathroom was not a smart move. I removed small sections and cleaned up in between to try my best to try to lighten the load. I rented this tool for only $69 from my local Home Depot, and I was able to remove all of the tile and mortar within 15 minutes. As you guys can see, I've already knocked down this entire wall. I'll show you up close here in a second. Now I just got to work on this back wall where the toilet goes and this wall on this side. So let's go ahead and get this wall down as well as this back wall, because then we have to finish removing the ceiling tiles and all of the trim. I vacuumed the floor and walls to remove as much dust and debris as possible and began measuring, cutting, and placing the new sheetrock. There was a partial stud missing that was removed by the previous owners when they placed the medicine cabinet mirror, and so I attached a 2x4 piece with pocket holes where it had been cut out, and that allowed me to be able to put the missing sheetrock to cover the hole. Once I had all the drywall hung, I moved on to the taping and floating process, and I ended up doing 3 coats. After the initial coat, I did let it dry overnight, and the next day I came back and smoothed it out with a damp sponge before applying the next coat. After the second coat was dry, I sanded it and applied a third before sanding that one down as well.
Okay, so while I wait on all of this to dry, it's got a little while before it's completely dry. I was thinking I'm going to remove these doors from this cabinet because I am going to be keeping it, but I obviously need to paint it. I'm not happy with the way it looks. Obviously, I don't like the color. It's not going to go with what I have in mind for the restroom. So I'm going to remove those doors, get them outside and get them ready for paint. And then I'm going to go in and clean all of these walls with some TSP substitute so I can get them ready for texture and primer.
To add a bit more texture, I used the Homax wall texture in a can in the orange peel. I scuff sanded the base of the cabinet to prep it for primer and paint. Used Kilt's 2 formula, and I gave all the walls, including the ceiling, a single coat. For the upper walls, I used the color Shoelace by Behr in an eggshell finish in their marquee one-coat line. I did, however, have to give it 2 coats to ensure even coverage, and since I was spraying it, it didn't take very long at all. Because this is a budget-friendly, do-it-yourself bathroom makeover, I decided to leave the existing shower, so I scuff sanded the metal to prep for spray paint and sprayed 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum Flat Black. I scuff sanded the doors using 220 grit sandpaper with my orbital sander because there was no adhesion issues from the prior paint job I'd done 4 years ago. I didn't bother to remove the old paint. After removing the dust and cleaning with some TSP substitute, I applied Kiehl's original oil-based primer. The shower pad needed to be a bit brighter in my opinion, so I decided to give the Rust-Oleum tub and towel kit a try. I did 2 coats of it after mixing both parts together, and if you have never used this before, fair warning, it smells really awful. Even with good ventilation, the smell was very strong.
So that I can make sure that the pattern that I go with is what I really want, and make sure and double check before I permanently put it on there and then I can't change it.
I mixed my mortar and began laying the tile down.
So it's been 24 hours since I laid the tile down. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove my spacers and I'm gonna get this prepped and ready for my grout.
I mixed the grout, and when laying it down, I made sure to remove as much of the excess as possible. While I waited on the grout to dry for about 30 minutes, I moved on to spraying the cabinet doors with the same color as the upper walls. Once 30 minutes had passed, I came back and lightly wiped down the tile to remove any excess grout with a damp sponge. I did the exact same thing 3 hours later to remove any existing haze. The following day, I began measuring, cutting, and placing all of the trim. I added a board and batten design to the bottom half of the wall using 1x4s for the top and bottom boards, and 1x3s for the battens, adhering them to the wall with liquid nails and brad nails. There was a couple of custom cuts that needed to happen in order to fit the space, so I used my jigsaw to cut them out. To give the boards a finished look, I added a 1x2 over top. Once the boards were all in place, I moved on with caulking every single one and wood filled all of the nail holes.
Alright, I've got everything nice and taped up, and I'm gonna go ahead and start spraying. Let's do this.
I used the color Wheat Bread from Bear in the marquee line in a satin finish.
Alright, you guys, we are completely done painting. It is midnight 30, so I am going to sleep. I'll catch up with you guys in the morning.
I wanted to add some design to the wall along the side of the toilet, so I added some wallpaper. Because it's going to be in the restroom, I decided to add some adhesive as well. With all of the smaller details in place, let's remember what this bathroom used to look like. And what it looks like now. Okay, y'all, so this is what the hallway looks like right now. I know how some of us feel about wood being painted, so fair warning, I will be painting this. I wanted to show you that the hallway has a built-in gun cabinet that I will be repurposing for just decor. It also has a glass door. To begin this makeover, I dusted all of the walls using just a Swiffer. Okay, so the next step to do here is to go ahead and fill. I'm sure you guys can see all the small holes from where they nailed all of this trim on. You can see there, all of those holes there. Just so when I go to paint, I can make sure that it's nice and smooth and you're not gonna see those little holes. So, wood filler time. To try to keep any paint and dust away and off of the floors, I made sure to cover the entire area with paper and tape. I'm going to go ahead and sand all of the spots that I filled with 220 grit sandpaper. I'm just using one of my orbital sanding papers or sanding discs, so I don't have to buy a block or anything like that. So I'm just going to quickly just go over that and then we'll move on to the next step. I vacuumed and wiped everything down to get rid of any dust, and since I was going to be spraying, I went ahead and covered the doors with plastic and the outlets with tape as well. Because the spacing between the boards were not all even, I decided to caulk between them with some acrylic latex caulking.
Alrighty, now that my walls are nice and prepped, then I'm ready to go ahead and start priming. To prime, I'm just going to be using this Kills primer. It is pretty thick, so I am going to be thinning it out with just a little bit of water just to make sure and not give my sprayer any trouble, make sure it flows through really, really well. So I'm just going to mix this here. It's a bug. And I am doing this outside clearly because I'm a messy painter and I don't want to make a mess inside, obviously. So go ahead and strain it. Oh God, I'm gonna make a mess.
To get better adhesion for my paint later, I made sure to backbrush all the primer immediately after spraying.
Alright you guys, so as you can see, everything is nice and primed, so I am just going to get in here, go ahead and start painting. I don't see the point in showing you guys all of the painting just because it's exactly what I did for priming. Nothing's going to be different as far as technique, except I'm just going to be spraying. I'm not having to back brush. I do have a brush for the smaller areas where my sprayer won't be able to reach, but otherwise I am just going to be spraying, so there's nothing fancy about it. You've seen me spray a bunch of furniture before, so nothing different from that. As you can see, I'm wearing something fancy here today on my hair so that I don't get paint all over my hair like I did yesterday. So I'm going to put my respirator on and I'm going to get to painting, and I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I am using Bare Scuff Defense in a semi-gloss in the ultra pure white, so no added color to it, just in the pure white that it comes. So yeah, so I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, welcome back. So it is the next day and I am done spraying all of the walls. This is what the hallway is looking like. I think it looks a heck of a lot better than it used to. As you can tell, this door needs to be painted still, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that, as well as the ceiling, because the ceiling has not been painted at all yet. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we can start decorating.
We decided to upgrade the light switches to more modern ones.
I'm going to add an additional shelf here. So I'm just going to measure, make my cuts, and then put it in.
After I had all 3 cuts for my shelf support, I gave them 2 coats of the same semi-gloss paint, and when they were dry, I attached them with brad nails. I cut my shelf board to length also and painted it in the same color. I ordered these frames from Amazon because I knew I wanted to create a gallery wall. I made sure to double check my measurements and placement, as well as making sure everything was level before placing the nails and placing my picture frames on the wall. This basket I found at my local Goodwill for $2, and I gave it 2 coats of matte black spray paint that I used as a pot for my faux tree. Now let's remember what this haul used to look like and what it looks like now. Hey guys, so we just arrived to one of my old friends' house, and we are going to be loading up a table set that she has gifted to me, and I am so appreciative of this table set that she's gifted to me. So we're gonna get this loaded up and then we'll head back home, and hopefully we'll get started on it pretty soon here within the next couple of days. So let's get this loaded. Before we start on the table set we're going to be using for this space, I wanted to show you what the dining room looked like. This is what we're starting with, not much and pretty basic. As you saw in the beginning, I received this table set way back in January of this year, and here I started on the chairs back in March, so it's been quite the process. I wanted to modernize the chairs, so after cleaning them, I gave them 3 coats of black Dixie Belle paint in the color Caviar. I did not sand or prime prior to painting. I'm going to be making a simple accent wall with vertical boards. I have textured walls and didn't want to cover up the texture with boards, so I will only be adding the battens to the wall. To achieve that, I picked up some 1x4s for the top and bottom trim or baseboards and some 1x3s for the rest. To start, I removed the bottom baseboards and trimmed out the baseboards that would be sitting adjacent to the new ones so that they could slide and fit in perfectly. I moved on to measuring and cutting my boards for what would be my baseboards using a 45-degree miter cut to join the two pieces. To attach them to the wall, I used liquid nails intended for sheetrock and wood trim and secured them with 2.5-inch brad nails. I repeated the same steps for the top as well, and once the top and bottom trim were attached, I measured and placed two 1x3s on each side of the wall flush with the adjacent wall. After getting some assistance from my manager to mark my stud placements, I evenly spaced out the remaining boards and secured them the same way. To get a really good, clean, and finished look, I caulked every single board, which, by the way, can be pretty time consuming but very well worth it. Then I filled all of my nail holes and where my boards met with wood filler. Okay, so I'm just waiting on the wood filler to dry so I can start sanding that so we can start painting. I did pick up a couple of samples from Home Depot, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my samples on the wall. As you guys can see, I miscalculated, and so I'm missing one board that I need to put on here, and then I'll be completely done with the wall. I'm gonna go ahead and start swatching them on the wall. After deciding on the middle color there on the wall, I went back to Home Depot and picked up the full gallon. If you follow me on Instagram, then you know that it was not the same color as the original sample, and so I made a second trip and the color still did not match. I finally just went with the last color they gave me because I did not want to deal with it and yet another trip to possibly get it right. I did remove and paint the outlet covers, but did not paint the actual outlets. To seal the chairs I had already painted months back, I used the Varathane wax and a natural finish. I removed the old cushion and fabric and replaced it all. I used the old fabric as an outline to cut the new foam and also the new fabric. I used staples to secure the fabric to the chairs, and just like the original, I applied some frame edging with hot glue to conceal the staples. It was finally time to remove the old curtain and curtain rod, and I used the ripfoot curtains from IKEA, which are really affordable and great quality. After giving the floor a good cleaning with my mop vac, I brought out the rug. This buffet is actually a record player / radio that I picked up from a local auction for only $1. It was in such great shape that I did not want to paint it, so all I did was clean it up. I took the same approach for the table and only cleaned it up really well. Now that the majority of the makeover is done, let's remember what this dining room used to look like. And what it looks like now. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Glenda Chavez, and today I'm going to be showing you how I transformed my 1950s walk-in pantry. But first, let's go back to the very beginning. A bit closer, this is what my pantry looks like right now. On the top is where I keep all of my napkins. Somewhat organized is what I would call that. Somewhat organized is completely wrong. This pantry was so disorganized and cluttered, it was begging to be cleaned out. As with any DIY makeover, the best way to begin or to start is to empty out your space and clean the area so you can have a blank canvas to start planning your vision if you don't already have one. This can help you see the potential that your space can have. Was emptying out the pantry, I was also making sure to check dates on everything and throwing out anything that was expired so that I didn't have to sort out through it later. Alright, so I definitely have a lot more stuff than I thought I did. You don't realize how many things you end up keeping in your pantry that you had no idea that you had. So that white bag there is all trash. And then let me show you. This is what it looks like empty. Obviously I still have to vacuum it and obviously clean it really good, but oh, I wanted to show you guys, look how cool. When I close the door, it automatically shuts the light off. When you open it, it turns on. The reason for that, so the owner who built the house put one of those little old school buttons that clicks when you close the door. I wanted to get the ceiling painted first and out of the way, which is why I began there after wiping the whole pantry down. I'm just using bare paint and ultra pure white in a satin finish. One tip to remember for in-between coats is to place your roller or your brush in a Ziploc bag to help keep it from drying out. It saves time from having to wash it or wasting a roller. We had to remove the trim from here in order to be able to remove this board. So hopefully now the board will slide right out, and then I'll get this one out, this next one out, and then we can put the trim back. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. The reason for removing these boards was because I just felt like I needed a bigger space in between the shelves that were already there, and so this helped me to achieve that. I filled the holes in the wall with my all-purpose joint compound and also taped and floated the sheetrock that I had placed earlier. If you are new to my channel and you're not already subscribed, I would love and encourage you to hit that subscribe button and become part of my YouTube family. You can look forward to me uploading once a week with all the DIY content. To get a smooth finish, I sanded all of the filled in holes with a sheetrock sanding block. It was finally time to start on the shelves, and I applied a very generous layer of stitcher strip and then scraped it off 30 minutes later. The great thing about stitcher strip is that it has a pleasant odor and is safe to use indoors with proper ventilation and PPE. After stripping, you want to use mineral spirits and steel wool to remove any existing residue. Guys, please, I cannot stress this enough to please be safe and use proper PPE. I know I am trying my best to remember to be better about this myself. So I am actually in the middle of sanding all of these boards or shelves down right now. This has become a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I thought this wasn't going to be a lot of work. I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for deciding to want these things. So what I'm doing now is I am sanding with an 80 grit paper, and then after I'm done sanding with 80 grit, then I'm going to go behind it with 120. I'm not going to show you all of the sanding because it's boring. Catch up with you guys in a little bit. If you haven't used this brush before for trim or corners, you're missing out, I'm telling you. It truly makes the job so much easier. If you use a nice, slow, and steady hand, taping won't even be necessary. I actually used to always tape everything, but now I'm finally starting to trust myself not to, and it saves so much time. I'll have it linked down in the description for you guys, as well as all and most products used in this project that I have links for. Because I did sand down to bare wood, I decided to use a pre-stain. My staining was done, I decided to go ahead and paint all of my walls. Originally I had chosen a beige color, but ended up deciding on ultra pure white by Behr once again. It felt like it would look more clean and crisp, and the contrast would be better. This is in a semi-gloss finish, so that way it's easy to wipe down. These glass spice containers I bought off of Amazon, and they were super inexpensive. It came with plenty of labels, marker, and even a funnel. Although I didn't really think that the funnel was ultimately necessary in order to transfer all the spices.
Kind of rearranging all of the stuff that comes in packages, taking those out of the packages and putting them into these containers. Most of these containers I got from dollar store or Dollar Tree. And one more thing that I wanted to touch on, when I was sitting here writing out the labels for these seasonings, this is why you should always be patient and look through everything that your package comes with. I didn't realize that they came already with the labels like this. Literally, as soon as I did the last bottle, I found these strips. So,
although the containers are new, I do still recommend you washing them. So here I am just drying them off before I start putting my stuff in them. These larger labels I also got from Amazon, and they were only about $6. Again, everything will be linked in the description for you guys. The items that I did not remove from the original packages, I just placed inside baskets by category, so that way they looked a little bit more organized.
So I wanted to show you guys my new fixture. So it's actually not a fixture. All I did was take a wired basket that I found at the dollar store and made a hole and just stuck it up there. So how cool is that? I ended up finishing these off with a little bit of polyurethane, water-based, because we are inside and I didn't want to obviously put too many fumes inside the house. This is what I used 3 coats of it, sanded before my last coat. So yeah, now it's time for the fun part and to start decorating.
This ceramic dip bowl I thrifted for $1 from a garage sale down the road. I thought that it was the perfect find. to go ahead and paint the actual window. Eventually we're probably going to end up replacing it, just like we're slowly replacing all of the other windows in the house, but I figured just to make this really look cohesive and new and fresh, it was better if I just went ahead and painted it, and so I did. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around, but let's remember now what this pantry used to look like. And what it looks like now.